Mullah Sadra, in fact, incorporates some Sufi subjects of Ibn Arabi's school into a philosophical system. He combined Ibn Arabi's Sufism, Shiite theology, and Islamic philosophy, and since then his philosophy became the official Shiite philosophy in Iran. This is similar to the situation Thomism found in the Roman Catholic Church in 19th century. In theology, Faiz Kashani, who was Mullah Sadra's student and son-in-law, is also one of the great Shiite theologians and jurisprudents of this period. He frequently refers to Ibn Arabi's and his major followers' ideas and words in his Sufi books, such as Kalamat Maknuneh, either explicitly or implicitly. Even in his theological books, such as Ilmul Yaqin fi Usul al-Din, he has posed some problems based on his Sufi taste. Another example is Qazi Sa'id Qawmi, who was at the same time. He is the well-known student of Faiz Kashani. He has written his Sufi commentaries of Shiite Imams' narrations, ahadith, according to the period in which Sufism in Iran experienced both climax and eclipse. In the era of Safavid, some Shiite jurisprudents started their most serious attacks against the main figures of Sufism, including Ibn Arabi, and Sufi concepts, most importantly, unity of existence. Since then on, the word Sufism, tasawwuf, received a pejorative meaning, and the Sufi Shiite scholars mostly use the word irfan, meaning gnosis, instead to be safe from the allegations made against them by the opponents. Nevertheless, interpreting and teaching the important writings on theoretical or doctrinal Sufism, including Ibn Arabi's Fusus al-Hikam and other works written by the main figures of his school, such as Qaysari, was fruitfully alive in Safavid era in Iran. However, after some interruption in Afshari and Zandid periods, this tradition has continued since Qajar era. In the latter period, some great teachers exposited and elaborated on these works in some Islamic seminaries in Tehran and Isfahan. These masters, whether they were themselves Sufis or not, had a Shiite outlook on theoretical Sufism and would usually teach the philosophical works of Mullah Sadra along with the works on theoretical Sufism. This group of teachers and commentators, among whom one could find some great Shiite jurisprudents, were mostly referred to as Arif and Hakim rather than Sufi. But even these jurisprudents who taught theoretical Sufism were also confronted by opposition and criticisms of other so-called Shiite jurisprudents. Basically, teaching and studying Sufi works were considered marginal in Shiite seminaries. Ibn Arabi in Iran present, the second part of my paper. Subsequent to revolution in Iran, the status of theoretical Sufism or Irfan, which has always been accompanied by Ibn Arabi's name, has undergone a profound change in Qom seminary. This change was mainly due to the religiously powerful positions of two people in Qom. First, Ayatollah Khomeini, second, Allame Tabatabai. The leader of the revolution, Ayatollah Khomeini, was a Shiite jurisprudent involved in Irfan and Sufism and would teach Ibn Arabi's and Mullah Sadra's works. He was the author of some works like commentaries on Fusus al-Hikam and such independent Sufi works as Sirr al-Salah, which are all based on the teachings of Ibn Arabi's schools, of course from a Shiite perspective. Due to these Sufi tendencies, he would be criticized and reproached in Qom seminary. His Sufi way of thinking had penetrated his jurisprudential arguments as well as his political views. That is why he, in his letter to Gorbachev, the leader of the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, while recommending him to pay attention to religion, he also suggested him to read the works of Zohrewardi, Mullah Sadra, and books of Sufis, especially Ibn Arabi. The second person who was also involved in theoretical Sufism, Irfan, and philosophy, and would teach them, and had great Islamic scientific power and position in Rome, was Allame Tabatabai. Although he didn't have any important independent writing on the Sufism, he was a great teacher of the Sufi books of Ibn Arabi's school, for the most part Mullah Sadra's philosophy, and therefore was always under the pressure of the jurisprudence opposing Sufism. Many of the jurisprudents who were his students in theology or philosophy either achieved important positions in the government or became religious authorities after revolution. Imam Khomeini's political influence due to his leadership of revolution and Allame Tabatabai's scientific power prevented any public opposition to Sufism and Irfan, and therefore the teachers and students still study Ibn Arabi and his school and do research on them, of course under the title of Irfan rather than Sufism. Although this Sufi trend is not the main scientific trend in Rome, but Ibn Arabi is still present there. In universities also, Irfan has become a PhD subject of study. Most of the references of this course are Ibn Arabi's and his father's works. Several PhD in dissertations have also been written on the different intellectual dimensions of Ibn Arabi and his school, or on comparison of Ibn Arabi's teaching and other Muslim and non-Muslim mystics, and even contemporary philosophers of the West like Martin Heidegger. Besides Ibn Arabi's living intellectual tradition within the scope of theoretical Sufism, he can also be found in the works of the sheikhs of the important Sufi orders in Iran. Good examples are the works of the masters of the Ni'matullahi Gunabadi order, like those of Haj Mullah Sultan Muhammad Gunabadi, particularly his commentary on Quran entitled Bayanus Sa'adah, or those of the masters of Zahabi order. Critics of Ibn Arabi in Iran today. However, oppositions to Ibn Arabi seriously continued. Some of them, which have been there for a long time, are not only related to Iran or Shiite Islam, but some new others are. The most important trends opposing Ibn Arabi in contemporary Iran will be pointed out in the following. First, intellectual criticism. This kind of opposition is mostly the result of the invasion of the modern Western thought in the mind of some contemporary modernist intellectuals, whether Muslim or non-Muslim in Iran. In their view, later Islamic philosophy, because of its Sufi elements, has been the main obstacle to the progress of intellectuality, including modern sciences and technology in Iran. Second,